Up next, Authentically Detroit welcomes the founder and executive director of Umoja Debate League, Jerjuan Howard. But first, this week's hot takes from Bridge Detroit. Detroit homeowners can get help applying for 2023 property tax relief, and oversight law didn't stop surveillance boom. Advocates call for reform. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
Hey, it's Stephen Henderson from WDET and Bridge Detroit. If you love listening to Orlando and Donna's incisive interviews and conversations on the Authentically Detroit podcast, I hope you'll also listen to the podcast I host, Detroit Today from WDET on Detroit's NPR station. Detroit Today is a daily podcast where I talk with community leaders, elected officials, and residents of Detroit, the region, and the state about politics and the values that animate our communities. Listen to Detroit Today every day on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show. Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from Cass Corridor at the WDET studios. We are a content partner to BridgeDetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey, and I want to thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. Donna is feeling a little under the weather today, so she's recovering at home. Rest, Donna, rest. But you're in good hands. I'm flying solo, but I'm joined in the studio today by a very special guest and someone we've been hoping to bring on the show for a little while now. The founder and executive director of Umoja Debate League, Jerjuan Howard. Jerjuan, finally, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
We are super excited to have you. How's this day finding you?
It's finding me pretty well.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit.
Back to work.
Yeah, back to work, man. Back to work. But I feel good about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was ready to get back to work, but it felt like it didn't feel like a real Monday. I typically kind of dread Mondays, but I was excited a little bit to get back to it.
How long were you off?
Only a week.
Oh, you were off a week. Yeah. See, I was off a little more than a week. And so I was not ready for today at all. And then I woke up and then it's snowing.
I say the weather played a part.
The weather is gloomy. And I was like, oh, this is my first day back because I was off way before Thanksgiving. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to go into the office today. I got up and I was like, it's a work from home day for your boy. I'm not going to the office. But yeah, man, how was your holiday?
The holiday was good. So I hosted this year at my home for the first time.
Yeah?
Yep. So all my aunts, uncles.
Did you cook?
I cooked the yams.
You cook?
I cooked the yams, yeah.
What?
Yep. I mean, it was with some guidance from my aunt, but I cooked the yams, bro. I cooked the yams.
So wait, who made your aunt's recipe or your recipe?
So no, it was my recipe.
It was your recipe.
Just like the procedure. It was my first time really doing it all the way. So it was cool.
How did it go?
It was good.
Full house?
It was gone, yeah.
It was gone. They ate all the yams?
All the yams was gone. All the yams was gone,
That's
bro.
what's up, man.
Yeah, it was cool, though.
I can't wait to hear more about that. And I'm digging the X hat. I want to know the story behind that. You got on the X hat. I want to know what that is. All right, y'all. It's time for Hot Takes, where we run down some of the week's top headlines in the city of Detroit. So for Hot Takes from Bridge Detroit, Detroit homeowners can get help applying for 2023 property tax relief. This is by my colleague Nusrat Rahman. So Detroiters struggling to pay their yearly property taxes can apply for a poverty tax exemption through early next month. Eligible homeowners have until December 11th to sign up for the City of Detroit's Homeowners Property Exemption Program, otherwise known as HOPE, to see a partial or full reduction in their 2023 property taxes. The city and nonprofit partners are hosting 2 resource days to help people complete their applications. The HOPE program, meant to keep Detroiters at risk of foreclosure in their homes, reduces or exempts qualifying homeowners from property taxes for the current year based on household income. Eligibility for the HOPE program is based on whether a resident owns and occupies their home as their primary residence and their household income. The maximum income for a full exemption for a family of 3 is $24,872. Most homeowners whose income is below the HOPE program's income guidelines are generally approved, and more than 11,000 Detroit homeowners were approved this year, according to a news release this week. Residents who need help with their HOPE application can go to the Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency, or Wayne Metro for short, located at 7310 Woodward Avenue for 2 resource events between 9 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. on December 8th and December 11th. For more information, you can go to detroitmi.gov/hope. Again, the information is detroitmi.gov/hope. All right. So this deadline always comes at a rapid pace. And I remember when I was working for Eastside Community Network, we would have our weekly back then it was HP TAP meetings where we would help residents fill out the applications and turn the applications and stuff into the assessor's office. And December was always a rush because people were trying to make sure that they got their applications in a timely manner. This is good that we have this, and it's good that we have 11,000 homeowners who have been able to take advantage of the program. But, let's keep in mind why this had to be enacted in the first place. We were in a property tax foreclosure crisis here in the city of Detroit, where over time we lost a third of our homeowners due to undue property taxes. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the research by the Coalition for Property Tax Justice, led by the Professor Dr. Bernadette Atuhuene, you will find that, Detroiters were habitually overassessed to the tune of about $600 million. Mm-hmm. Right? Researchers think that is a little bit more. But the application process is lengthy and laborious to the point where Detroiters need nonprofits and other intermediaries to help walk them through the process. And so thank goodness that we have the nonprofits and other intermediaries who are able to step in and do that. But I think that work, number one, needs to be more resourced. I don't think there is enough resources and staff to help with the onslaught of applications that people have. The second thing is there needs to be a mechanism in place where folks should stop having to reapply every year.
Yeah.
Right. If you are a senior and you get a poverty tax exemption and your income ain't changing, why does that person have to apply every year? Right.
It's that rigorous process.
So it's a rigorous process. And so I think our institutions and our government functions need to be able to communicate with each other. If we are renewing licenses with the Secretary of State, because that's what we call it in the state of Michigan, Secretary of State, not the DMV. If we are getting our tax returns and stuff back, some of these systems need to start communicating with each other.
No, I agree.
So that folks are relieved of the burden of having to maybe take off work or figure out child care for the young people to go in and go through this process. It's not an easy process.
Absolutely. That's a great point you make in regards to just departments and everybody else just talking.
Yeah.
It's almost like the government isolated efforts.
Yeah.
Departments don't talk. And as a result, the people who don't have access to those type of things and have to take off to work and all those other things, it makes it hard for them to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole foreclosure thing is something that's near and dear to my family as well. My grandmother lost our house due to that back in about 2010.
The family house.
That's kind of part of like Umoja's story. I wanted to start the garden. Yeah. So once we lost the house in 2010, 2011.
Were y'all ever able to get it back?
No. So in 2016, I was 18 years old and I had a little bit of money from the Army. I wanted to buy the house. It was abandoned and stuff now. It sat for like 5 years. But nope, it had asbestos in it. The house got tore down. I wanted to buy that land.
It got demolished.
Okay. Yeah. So I went to buy that land to start Umoja Village, the garden right there, like where the childhood house was at.
So where the village is where grandma's house was?
Nope. So I didn't get that land. So it's kind of like a whole another piece of the story. But the whole entire origin was supposed to be on that land. And it kind of was started, I guess, due to that foreclosure.
Yeah. And I think, folks are still reeling from that, right? Folks are still reeling from having their homes and their wealth taken from them. Folks are still reeling from the adverse effects of the bankruptcy judgment. And so when we talk about trauma and dispossession and all of that, we shouldn't further traumatize people when we're trying to help them.
Exactly.
And so how can we make sure that this process is just a bit more streamlined? And I think they're making strides at it. Shout out to the Gilbert Family Foundation. Laura Granneman, Darnell Adams are two champions for this cause, and they continue to champion this cause and resource nonprofits to be able to do this work. I'm advocating for a little bit more resources because having operated this program at a nonprofit, it wasn't enough, right? We found ourselves volunteering a lot of that time. And so hopefully we can really, pick this up and, keep it moving. But make sure you get your applications in, everybody. Send this to somebody. Go to detroitmi.gov/hope or go to the Wayne Metro Community Action Agency located at 7310 Woodward Avenue for 2 resource events. Again, they're between 9 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. on December the 8th and December 11th. Get those poverty tax exemption applications in. And if you feel like if you're on the border of the income threshold or eligibility, go in anyway and talk to somebody, because what it really is about is you having to prove hardship. And there are so many ways to prove hardship. You may make $27,000 for 3 people in the household, but you got your water bill high and your light bill is high because all of these things. So bring your bills, bring anything that can aid you in proving the financial hardship so that you're able to at least get a partial or full exemption. All right?
Absolutely.
All right. In hot takes, oversight law didn't stop surveillance boom. Advocates call for reforms. This is by Malachi Barrett at Bridge Detroit. Community groups and city council members are working to reform a Detroit law that has largely failed to create oversight of surveillance technology collecting data on residents' faces, license plates, fingerprints, and more. Police surveillance tools have multiplied in the 2 years since the council adopted a community input over government surveillance ordinance. The 2021 law, created in partnership with civil rights groups, requires public disclosures before the council can approve technology contracts. Advocates say loopholes in the law and a lack of data reporting have undermined efforts to inform residents about how their information is being collected. Council President Mary Sheffield has held several meetings with the Coalition of Civil Rights Groups that helped draft the original ordinance. She expects to introduce amendments in early 2024. Sheffield was hesitant to discuss specifics during a November interview, but said it's time to reevaluate how well the ordinance has performed. You think? Tawana Petty is a fellow with the Social Science Research Council and Detroit activist who was working with the council and ACLU to draft an oversight ordinance. Petty pulled her support for what ultimately passed in 2021, saying input from the Detroit Police Department resulted in too many carve-outs for police to avoid disclosures. You all know Tawana Petty. She was just on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Councilmember Gabriela Santiago Romero is chair of the Public Health and Safety Committee, which has had the first look at surveillance technology contracts sought by police. She's working with the ACLU to strengthen reporting requirements and measure whether benefits of surveillance technology outweigh its costs. Santiago Romero said DPD repeatedly leaves the council with unanswered questions when considering contracts. She wants language added to require more detailed data reporting. Even a cost analysis would be helpful, Santiago Romero said. If you tell me something is going to lower crime, I need a benchmark. It's the same with our garbage. We have expectations of when it gets picked up, and if it's not, you're not going to do the job, we'll find another company. What I'm seeing with DPD, this is Santiago Romero talking, is we're not as stringent, and we should be. DPD did not respond to a request for comment on its commitment to following the oversight ordinance or providing more data on the costs and benefits of surveillance contracts. So listen to this. Under the law, Detroit's council can only approve spending for surveillance technology after determining the benefits outweigh its costs, and it won't be used to discriminate against any particular group. Advocates say the law has not resulted in public access to information that settles those concerns. The law requires annual reports from City Council and Detroit departments using surveillance tools. The reports outline the cost of implementation, number of resident complaints, and third-party groups that have access to surveillance data, among other things. The council must release its annual report on the city's website by April 30 of each year. Bridge Detroit was unable to find any annual surveillance reports online and was later told that the council's report would only be released through a Freedom of Information Act request. Wow. The most recent DPD annual report is from 2019, according to the Board of Police Commissioners. All right, so here's what I'll say about this. I think that the city of Detroit, particularly council, has approved millions of dollars now, right? If we're talking for ShotSpotter alone, I think within the last 5 years, we spent upwards of $8 million for technology that detects where gunshots are happening and can sort of pinpoint the area with where the gunshots and things are happening. We were sold so many things in relation to this surveillance technology by the administration, that it would lower crime and that we will have, we will increase our arrests. We will know where the gunshots and things are coming from. But we haven't really seen a record to prove or disprove that, right? I think when we talk about, Project Greenlight, where businesses are opting into this city-run program that feeds into the Detroit Public Safety Headquarters that has some technology in there where it's able to recognize faces, that is also cause for pause and cause for concern, because we know that facial recognition technology almost always, at an alarming rate, misidentifies Black folks at a larger rate. In fact, there are, I think, 6 cases nationally where folks have been arrested based on faulty facial recognition technology, and half of those cases are in the city of Detroit, right? And so when we talk about, wanting to be safe and wanting to feel safe, do cameras make us safe, right? Like, does surveillance make us safe, or does it further implant this adversarial relationship that, institutions of policing have in communities of color? I'm just going to go ahead and say it, right? And so we can talk about the intention of the chief, and we could talk about the intention of the police department. But what I would say is intention doesn't always match the systems by which the intention is trying to be enacted, Absolutely. Right? And the systems of which these technologies are operating in is inherently racist, right? Yeah. It is inherently adversarial to the Black body, right? Yeah. And the Black life. And so we're talking about the city of Detroit, a city that is almost 80% Black, the largest Black city in America. Our relationship with surveillance should look differently, and our cause for concern should be amplified so as that we are not living in a surveillance state, right? Tawana Petty talks about, mechanisms by which community can give feedback and pushback on surveillance technologies that have just, seems to be sometimes forced on us by this narrative that doesn't have any proof. Gabriela Santiago Romero said that, the council has not been as stringent on police asking for contracts with these data companies and these surveillance technologies as they would with other kinds of entities. Number one, that's a problem. Yeah. Bridge Detroit not being able to find an annual report on the efficacy of these programs, that is problematic. And then being told that we would have to FOIA that. So Bridge Detroit has the resources to submit a FOIA and pay for it, but the average citizen should, you know what I'm saying? And so there are many things to be concerned about here. I am looking forward to seeing what comes out of this Coalition for Civil Rights group, along with Santiago Romero and Council President Mary Sheffield, when they introduce these amendments in 2024. You have anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now with that whole entire surveillance thing, they're playing on the idea of safety, right? All Detroiters want to be safe. And And so as a result of that, they're not as, like you said, as strong when it comes to checks and balances of everything else as they would in regards to any other contract. But that is highly problematic. Detroit is the blackest city in America. And if we are using what has been proven to be racist technology, regardless of intention, like you said, that is a huge problem. I think we must look at this is going to cost us more in the long run if we don't kind of take care of this now. Right? Those misidentifications, those will turn into lawsuits. The city will have to pay individuals, right? Like that digs us more into a hole financially than we were to begin with. So I think addressing those issues and doing proper checks and balances is crucial.
Yeah,
it's
and
crucial to the city's.
So many of our departments use these kinds of technologies, general services, the parking. We talked on this show about the parking department having license plate readers, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why there's like this loophole in the ordinance around reporting is because for some of the technologies, if contracts were approved before 2019, that they're not obligated to the same reporting standards
right.
After this ordinance. And so Project Greenlight has been around since since before 2019. And so has ShotSpotter, right? And so there are too many loopholes, or as Tawana Petty said, too many carve-outs. I did also want to give you guys this number around these arrests, these false arrests. Right now, again, there are 6 national cases. Detroit has 3 of them.
Wow.
Right. So we got to be careful. We got to interrogate.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, it's crucial to the well-being of the now and the future. Again, This is so many things are at stake here just due to improper checks and balances. It has to be that way. It should be no reason why you can't find the annual report. Like that has to be a thing where citizens can go and look at just as freely as they can look at any other press release from the city.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Jerjuan Howard of Umoja Debate League.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the neighborhood tech hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the Wellness Network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
Bridge Detroit is your news and engagement platform that is telling the stories of Detroiters rooted by community priorities. Started in 2020 by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Stephen Henderson, the newsroom has already established its footing as the go-to source for hyper-local perspectives that ask the hard questions, brings accountability, and searches out real solutions. It's free to become a member of this award-winning news organization. Visit bridgedetroit.com today to sign up to receive the news delivered right to your inbox. Bridge Detroit, by Detroiters, for Detroiters.
Welcome back to Authentically Detroit. My special guest today is Jerjuan Howard of the Umoja Debate League. Jerjuan Howard is the founder and executive director of Umoja Debate League. Born and raised on the west side of Detroit by a close-knit community and family, Jerjuan has a deep passion for community engagement and youth development. Prior to founding Umoja Debate League, Jerjuan has served as an information technology specialist for the U.S. Army, president of the Black Student Union at Western Michigan University, author of A Message to Black College Students, and as an academic interventionist for Detroit Public Schools Community District. He graduated from Western Michigan University in December 2020 with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Jerjuan believes in the power that we all possess as a community to collectively change our conditions from within. He emphasizes the importance of reaching back to connect, invest in the community once you have reached a certain level of success. Jerjuan, I am super excited to have this conversation with you, man. Welcome.
Man, thank you for having me.
Let's go back to this origin story around Umoja Debate League and your grandmother in her home, and everybody, and for, I don't know if it's like this in your family, but all the black families I know, grandma's house is the family house.
Yep, literally, man. Every day after school, it was
it's
like
where everybody goes.
Yeah.
Right. We descend on grandma's house after school for babysitting, for homework, for
everything.
dinner, for whatever. Grandma's house was the gathering place.
Yep.
And so to have your gathering place, how old were you in 2010?
What was I, 13?
At 13 years old, to have your gathering place dispossessed from you and your family. Take me back to that moment.
Yeah, so that house has been in the family since about 1940, 1939, something crazy like that. So it was initially, owned by my great-grandparents, my great-grandmother Fanny and my great-grandfather JB. My grandfather Tommy was born, and then he married my grandmother Virginia. They had my mother had me. So this is the house, literally from all the way back then. And you seen the family
1940s.
Yeah, 1940s. So you seen the family kind of change. That was the meeting spot, right? My grandmother found another home, but it still wasn't the same. That's the childhood.
Yeah, right.
That's the childhood
it's
house.
been in the family since 1940.
Exactly. And so it was so important to me that I still wanted to maintain it. Like, I wanted to instantly get it back as soon as I came into a little bit of money to do so. I turned 18, the whole Army thing when I joined, got like a little bonus.
Okay, so you went to the Army.
Yeah.
All right, so you graduated high school.
Yep.
And you decided to go to the Army.
Yep, 10 days after graduation.
Why did you decide to go to the Army?
So I went to go to law school.
Okay.
And law school costs money, and the military was paying for law school. And
okay.
So that was my sole reason for joining the Army. And it worked out.
So you went 10 days after graduation?
Yep. So I graduated from Renaissance High School June 10th. And by June 20th.
You Renaissance people, y'all have to, you didn't have to tell us where you graduated high school.
Man, hey, look, I had to. I went to Renaissance June 10th. I walked across the stage, and June 20th, I was in Fort Benning, Georgia.
In basic training.
All
right. But you still had grandma's house on your mind.
Still had grandma's house on my mind enough to literally, and I have, like emails and everything like that, to reach out to the land bank, say, hey, I know this 16502 Cheyenne is abandoned everything now, but what are the steps I need to take to gain ownership of it?
So the county foreclosed on the house.
Yep.
Held it. It wasn't sold at auction. And so it came into the hands of the land bank.
Yeah.
And so you knew and had the wherewithal at 18 years old to reach out to the land bank like, yo, I want to get the house. What did the land bank say?
So they had done some testing up to that point, because mind you, it was sitting for about 4 or 5 years or so. And they straight up told me, like, the house has to come down due to asbestos.
Yeah.
And I understood that. It was an older home. But then I was devastated, of course, But I'm like, okay, this idea of a community garden to kind of like honor people that came before me, produce life right there, get the community all together. That was my whole initial thought. Even after they told me it was being demolished, I'm like, well, can I get the land? And they said, well, there's a lien on the property due to, like the construction company, whatever the case may be. But, you have options. The person next door can get it for $100. You sound like you've been over there for all your life. You might know who that owner is, whatever the case may be. That plan ended up not falling through. And, I won't get into the whole details of that, but it ended up not falling through as it should have. And, that idea kind of sat, but Umoja Village was birthed probably about, what was that, 4 or 5 years after that.
Birthed out of that trauma and out of that dispossession, you were able to build something beautiful. Talk to me about Umoja Village. What is it? Where is it? And did Umoja Village precede the Debate League, or is this after? Yeah,
after.
Give us that.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll give you the whole rundown, I guess, of the Debate League first, right? So the Debate League was officially formed in 2021. I graduated from college in 2020, and the pandemic was at full strength, if you want to call it that.
How about that?
Yeah.
Graduating from college in 2020. What in the world?
I didn't have a graduation. Yeah, like, it was virtual. But I didn't walk across the stage. Yeah,
sheesh.
I wasn't really tripping, though,
I'm
to
sure.
be honest. Yeah,
I'm sure. Go ahead. I'm listening.
But so boom, 2020 graduate, and the 501c3 paperwork, all that stuff officially gets filed in 2021. So Umoja Debate Team at the time, it wasn't a league yet. It started. I started at John R. King Middle School just as an after school program, doing that with about 6 kids. That grew into 4 schools, principals talk and everything like that. So the 4 schools were Blackwell, Bethune, Paul Robeson, Malcolm X, and John R. King. We began to put our coaches in all these schools and develop a league where they were competing against each other, all under our umbrella of Umoja. So that happened. And then last year in 2022, I was able to gain ownership of these 3 lots on Puritan and Stansbury. I grew up on Puritan. Puritan and Stansbury, which we have developed, they were blighted, man. It was couches there. People were dumping trash. A whole lot of stuff was going on that land, and we transformed it. And so now that's home to a community garden, a community tool shed that we rent stuff out free of charge, beautiful art, a 24-foot stage, benches, a place for the community and by the community, but it was all transformed through Umoja.
Man, that's amazing. So you're giving me like the high level version, but I really want to get into some of the nitty gritty. You came home in December 2020, and you started something that is ballooning into like this thing that everybody is beginning to recognize and want to be a part of it. But you just started, and I want to know, like, what was it on the inside of you that was like, I'm just going to start? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because I'm from a different generation, right? When I came home, it was really about, finding a job in a sector, and getting the permission and the mentorship from those who came before me to give me permission to grow and to start and to be a visionary. And what I love about you and what I tell people about you is that like this young brother didn't ask for permission. He just started. Where did that come from?
Oh man, just want to see better for my community. I think, to be honest, I knew that we could pull it off. I knew we could do it. It never was like a doubt in my mind that this is going to happen. Like, regardless of whatever trials and tribulations, support or non-support, this will happen. I kind of made that up in my mind. And I've kind of always been that way with things, like very steadfast. Like, this is the goal. We're going to get there, however, by any means necessary, to be honest.
All right.
And I always say, like, I mean, I did reach out to a lot of different folks. I do have a lot of mentors in this city. I will say that. But the advice that they gave me or didn't give me, again, I either added it to my toolbox up here in my head, or, I kind of let it go by the wayside and continue to do what I felt was important for me and my community. So, I mean, I guess bottom line is kind of something I always say is like, I'm willing to work with or against anybody for Black progress in this city. So,
I mean, okay, at 25, 24, how old are you?
25.
At 25, this consciousness that you have, right? And I heard you quote X. You got the X hat on. Where does this Black consciousness come from? Where does this consciousness where you say, I have to ensure that I reach back and invest in the community once as I continue to level up at each level?
Man, I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. So I really kind of dove into Black literature and stuff like that in high school. Mind you, I wanted to become a lawyer to help Black people in the justice system. That was my whole entire
And that's
thing.
why you have a degree in criminal justice.
Exactly,
okay.
Yeah, because law school was the next step, until the pandemic happened. So, a little bit of consciousness, YouTube videos, all type of stuff in high school. But really, I think this consciousness really, really took a whole nother turn for me in college.
Was there a teacher, a mentor that said, hey, you should read this, you should pick this up? Or was this just sort of like this intrinsic proclivity that you already had? I
think I don't want to take all the credit for this because somebody poured this stuff into me. Like, that's how this works, right? Even if it was like a small spark that I probably don't remember vividly, someone was intentional. Like, hey, here's that Frederick Douglass autobiography. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And Black history was always a thing in the schools that I went to. Huge shout out to John R. King Elementary and Middle School. I only went to 2 schools my whole life. Preschool through 8th grade, John R. King, then Renaissance for high school.
Wow.
But John R. King really was like about, pride and self and Black history. It's not considered like an African-centered curriculum school, but I very much felt like I knew what Black history was and the importance of us supporting us and how we can move forward and mobilize ourselves. So I guess that was part of it. But, man, to be honest, college was when it really took a turn.
Because you're at Western Michigan.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, in Kalamazoo.
In KZoo.
In Kalamazoo.
All right, set the scene for us.
Yep. So I think, what percentage is Black students at Western? It's less than...
It's low.
It's less than 10 if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me. But the Black Student Union, Khalil Mazi was the president of the Black Student Union at the time when I came on campus. And I was helping these young ladies take some stuff to their room. They're like, come to this Black Student Union meeting. And I was like, all right, cool. And when I was there, the brother was literally speaking to me. I didn't know nobody that young who was speaking the way he was speaking. and talking about the facts and statistics and the historical context that he was giving. And it intrigued me. And so I kept going. And I didn't know at the time, but what Khalil was doing was grooming me to become the president of the Black Student Union. And me and the brother, like, we'd be in a library late at night reading, like, books and talking about theories and stuff like that. Again, Khalil Mazi is always a part of this story of how this works. But, yeah, Khalil Mazi and the Black Student Union of Western Michigan really kind of took it to another level because I was able to practice what I was learning.
Yeah, and you were able to sort of, especially for the practice that you have now in the city, you were sort of able to get the rigor. It was the academic rigor and the intelligentsia and theory behind all of this, so that you can put it in practice.
Absolutely. The Black Student Union was probably my greatest teacher.
Wow.
It probably was my greatest teacher. Literally, the theories and things behind what I do now, I literally tried them all out at Western Michigan, whether that's dealing with powers at B that might not agree with your methods or that might not see things the way you see them. Right? I learned how to deal with all that stuff at Western Michigan. And I read about it all day long from the 60s and even, other liberation movements. But I really was able to practice some of those things then and kind of really hone in on those things now.
Yeah, because you're still practicing now.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from your time at Western?
Oh, man, the biggest thing I've learned.
President of BSU.
Networking horizontally. The importance of that was crucial for me to learn at Western Michigan. Again, sometimes I think that we always network for somebody like that we view as a level above to put us on, like a mentor or like some big company or something like that. But building with people who are literally your peers, like these classmates, these, folks you might have grew up with, that is how you build real power, by networking horizontally. Because I have a good idea, but I might have a friend who I might be overlooking who's cold at website development. Or I might have a friend who's really, really good at finances. But I don't even look to these people to build with because I'm looking to get put on vertically, but not horizontally. So Western really taught me the strength and power of people that's my age, that's doing things in alignment with me.
Yeah. Who else says that? Issa Rae says that, right? When she was just a filmmaker on YouTube, trying to break in, she used her network, right?
Yeah.
She didn't have access to, Hollywood and Hollywood actors and A-list actors. And if you look at, the cast of Insecure, right? We didn't know none of these people.
Yeah.
She made us know them.
And they were great.
And they were great. And they were dope. And so, I'm rooting for everybody Black. Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Malcolm X.
Oh man, I love Malcolm X. I think a lot of my ideas and stuff stem from him. I've studied him.
What ideas?
Self-sufficiency is one.
Because you talk about, I love that you mentioned that, because my follow-up was going to be, you talk about collectively changing conditions from within.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Self-sufficiency is, I think, Malcolm's biggest message to me. Amongst many other ones. I can go on about, what he's kind of poured into me just through his lectures and his books and everything like that. But self-sufficiency, just the idea that I think in our communities, I know we have the power to change it literally whenever we kind of want to.
Yeah.
It's just kind of up to us, for one, understanding that and then acting in unison to get to that point. And so the examples and blueprint that he laid in order to get to that point, it always was fascinating to me. And it kind of always made me think, like, how are we still in certain conditions?
Yeah.
We've had leaders like that who kind of almost laid out the blueprint of what must take place and for us to advance. But I mean, he was bold, courageous, for him to live during the time in which he lived, to speak the way he spoke and to speak truth to power the way he did.
Yeah.
And understand what the real power really was. It was always fascinating to me, and have the utmost respect and honor for him.
Man, I love X. I think, to build off of what you are saying, I think what he endeavored to do, and I think what you are endeavoring to do, is awaken a consciousness of self-empowerment and self-sufficiency. Malcolm X wasn't really talking about the physical and harsh conditions of Jim Crow at the time, rather than trying to enlighten the mind and the spirit of whomever he was listening to, right? So that we could, whatever the goal was, whether if it was at one point to start a black state, right? His goals morphed as he continued to grow. Yeah. For us to, not look to the power structure to save us.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
How can the system that oppresses you save you at the same time, right? So I love that.
His message is timeless, man.
It
almost
is.
like it. I swear, you can listen to some of his speeches and be like,
"Is it 2023?"
No, seriously, So yeah, absolutely. And you made a very, very important point. Another thing that I love about Malcolm is, when I say he knew where the power was, he did. Like, he said when a black gangster kind of like gains consciousness, the black community moves forward. So he understood. He wasn't just always talking to the ones like the higher up, like the social class of blacks who are, he was talking to everybody, right?
It existed.
Exactly.
And it exists.
And it
exists today.
And it exists.
Let's put a pin right there. Let's come back to that. We're going to take a quick break. More with Jerjuan Howard from Umoja Debate League after the break.
Have you always dreamed of being on the airwaves? Well, the Detroit Eastside Engaged Podcast Network, or DEEP for short, is here to make that dream a reality. Located inside the Stoudemire, the DEEP Network offers studio space and production staff to help get your podcast idea off the ground. Doesn't take a whole lot of work to get started. Just visit the Authentically Detroit page at ecn-detroit.org or call Sarah at 313-948-0344.
Founded in 2021, the Stoudemire is a membership-based community recreation and wellness center centrally located on the east side of Detroit. Membership in the Stoudemire is available on a sliding scale for up to $20 per year or 20 hours of volunteer time. The Stoudemire offers art, dance, and fitness classes, community meetings and events, resource fairs, pop-up events, the neighborhood tech hub, and more. Members who are residents of the east side have access to exclusive services in the wellness network. Join today and live well, play well, be well. Visit ecndetroit.org.
You are listening to Authentically Detroit, and we are back with Jerjuan Howard, founder and executive director of Umoja Debate League. We went to the break and we were talking about, this social hierarchy of class amongst black folks in the city of Detroit. What did you want to say about that?
Well, I was going to just touch on the idea of why it's important for me to be on Puritan and still be visible and still be right there with the people.
Right there in the hood.
Right there in the hood.
On the west side.
On the west side, Puritan and Schaefer. That's extremely important. For someone young, a young black man like myself, young black men can see me and literally, and not that I'm trying to make this happen, but I'm trying to spark something inside their minds. Like, you don't have to go nowhere else to build. You can build right there where you are currently, right? And so for them to be able to see that, like, in live action, like through my day-to-day life, through like the things I do with Umoja Village and Umoja Debate League, I'm trying to spark this to happen in other communities and other neighborhoods, right? I don't want to be the leader of everything. I have no desire to do that. But if we can inspire other leaders and get them to take initiative in their own communities, then we win as a collective in this city, as a culture, as everything, right? So that's very, very important that I'm literally where I'm at right now in this stage of my life, because it's intentional. It's intentional for me to be there.
Well, that there's a tension, I think, that those of us who grow up in the city of Detroit carry, right? Especially if you are seen as gifted or talented early on, right? Mm-hmm. It is, go ahead, get your education, get your degree, and get the heck out of here, right? Yep. It's this narrative that really, really invades our psyche and our narrative, that in order to be a success, or if you find yourself successful, then Detroit cannot pair well with that success.
Yep.
And you are essentially turning it like on his head and said, no, like, I'm going to build here and I'm going to be successful at it. I always say that I didn't need to leave Detroit to be successful. I needed Detroit to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of speaks to the importance of institution builders too, right? Mm-hmm. Because like that is so important for an infrastructure to be there for black talent to be, sustained and then continue to grow. If that's not there, can you really, like I do it, but can you really, look at the black college graduate who's 22 years old saying, I'm not, like, the infrastructure not there for me to be successful in, regardless of whatever the case may be.
It's interesting you bring that up because the state has a task force right now trying to look at why we can't retain younger talent and population.
I can give a lot of recommendations.
It's so crazy because you should be on that task force. I mean, folks had to fight with the governor to actually include young people and Gen Zers on that task force. And I think it's like up to two Gen Zers on that task force. Tell me a little bit about, how you see the infrastructure right now to receive Gen Z talent coming out of college with your talents, your gifts, and consciousness in the city of Detroit and in the state.
I think it has to improve.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it has to improve. I think Detroit has a lot of institutions that could, maintain that talent, but I think sometimes there's language barriers, if that makes sense, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that like a lot of the older organizations sometimes don't make it like a welcoming environment or like come up to speed to the point where that young talent come in and actually be useful, right? Like a lot of the organizations that exist, I don't see that fitting well with some of the young talent and the skills that they just learned in their 4-year degree. So it has to be like
because what we tend to throw on young people is this sort of mode of respectability.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why Umoja. I'm going to start my own stuff. I ain't about to keep, we gonna do it. And
so did you have jobs before you started this?
Not really. I mean, I did the academic interventionist thing with DPSCD, but that was literally at the same time. I already knew I was starting Umoja.
All right.
Right. Like,
yeah.
So I kind of already knew. So not really. Kind of in a way, but not really. No.
All right.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the name.
Umoja. Yep. So, huge inspiration of mine is Nipsey Hussle. And I love Nip Hussle and everything he stands for. Again, kind of like, building where you're at.
Yes.
Never disconnected from the people that you need to reach the most. He never really separated himself from his community, and I admire that. That's honorable to me. But anyways, his whole entire brand, the marathon continues. I just like the message, man.
Yeah.
Like it's self-explanatory.
And
it's like a call to like anything. You got to keep going. And so I wanted Umoja. At the time, it was just, I wanted the debate team, just blank debate team, to be something that was good for our communities. Like that, literally, kind of like if you heard it, like, okay, I understand who that's coming from. Yeah. Like, and so Umoja means unity in Swahili. And it's also the very first principle of Kwanzaa.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
so,
Saba, baby.
Absolutely. And so me understanding, again, I think our community needs unity. So I was very intentional with picking that name. I didn't want to say unity debate team. Like, Umoja.
Yeah.
Umoja.
So we know it's black.
Yeah. Like, you're, Yep.
You know that you have stepped into something that isn't normal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So intentional, man. And again, institution building those spaces where like our talents and our gifts can thrive.
Do you see yourself as an institution builder?
I wouldn't label myself that as yet, but I want to become one.
There?
I'm getting there.
Why debate? Why not academic games or, I don't know, performing arts or, the fine arts? You chose debate. Why debate?
I think it's a great vehicle. For so much.
Vehicle to where?
Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Confidence. Conflict resolution skills. Self-expression skills. Literally through debate, I call it disguised learning. You almost don't even know that you're gaining all these different skills until you get to another area of life. Like, dang, I probably can break this down pretty well. I could think critically through this. I can articulate myself. And that's literally kind of like what happened to me. In the military at Western Michigan, I was a shy kid. How did I stand comfortable?
Were you?
Like real chill, laid back.
I can't imagine, but go ahead.
Yeah, chill, laid back.
Yeah.
But Miss Pamela Norris, 10th grade at Renaissance High School. Huge shout out to Miss Norris. Changed my whole personality in a way. Where I'm still chill, laid back, but I'll voice my opinion if it's something that I feel strongly about.
We see you at the DPSCD board meetings.
if it's something that I feel strongly about. And so debate, man, it's just like a cool vehicle to teach all those things to the youth. And I had experience in it. So I knew how to package it, how to deliver it, how to make it where the youth understand it. I could add culturally relevance into there, as well as community relevance into that. Like all of our curriculum that we do, we literally make sure it's relevant to their lives, to their culture, and to their community.
Yes.
We're not debating topics that's far range and wide that don't affect these kids.
Yeah.
Right. We affecting stuff that's, happening right now and that they can really think about and use this stuff, you know what I'm saying, in whatever aspect of life they want to use it in.
I love it. Talk to me about where Umoja Debate League is right now. Are there any barriers or challenges that you're facing toward, growth and the continued success of this amazing program?
Yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely, there are some challenges right now. As it currently stands, last year we had 4 different schools that were in all middle schools. This year we were asked to expand it to 10 middle schools, and some of these schools are outside of DPSCD. So that's just the middle school portion. The whole entire high school portion we're introducing this year as well, where right now there's a void for high school level debate within Detroit public school system. There's not essentially a league that's bringing everybody together to debate and for these kids to hone in on those skills I just spoke about. And so Umoja Debate League wanted to fill that void. But through that, it of course takes funding. It takes the proper support and the right infrastructure. And so as an organization, our infrastructure is solid. The curriculum and everything else, we have the coaches ready to start, but it's a funding thing.
Yeah.
It's really a funding thing right now for us to expand into those high schools and still maintain the middle school league that we have.
Right, because that's the original.
That's the original.
Yeah.
And that's important for us to get them that
so
young.
The work needs to be resourced.
The work needs to be resourced.
In a real way.
In a real way.
In a real way.
In an extremely real way.
And that's the thing, so I'm glad you said that, because some intermediaries and funders will want to talk about capacity and, you should build your capacity for this and, do that. And, and I think there are many instances where that could be appropriate. But there's also like the capacity of a check. Write the check.
Yeah. Man.
Like capacity increases when you write the check.
Yeah, absolutely. Literally, that's where we're literally at right now, right? We want the capacity to increase, but it requires funding. And I didn't really realize like how, when people start organizations, it's just because they want to do some good.
Yeah.
That's just like the bottom line. People want to do good, and so they start organizations. But it's a whole entire like business side of this thing in a way, like through the funding and the administrative work. All
Were
of
you
that.
ready for that when you started it?
I was. Again, like our structure is still solid now. It's just funding.
Right.
And
if we're going to expand, we need resources.
Yeah, and even like through our funding struggles, right, we've still been able to build everything that we've accomplished up to this point, right? Like our partnerships are strong. Our partnerships have kept us alive up to this point.
Yeah.
And so we've been able to show that we can, make stuff happen. But how sustainable is that without proper funding?
Without funding.
Yeah, without funding. And again, like what message does that send to anybody else who wants to start these type of initiatives in their community if they're going to be struggling teeth and nail trying to make anything happen? So we going to get that together though. I'm confident enough to make that happen.
Talk to me about Kwanzaa. You got something coming up for Kwanzaa. It's in my,
Yep. So we will be hosting a Kwanzaa debate tournament. We are still solidifying that date. It might be December 28th. We're still solidifying, and I'll make sure I get that information to you. But what that will look like is, again, we are a debate league. And so many different organizations reach out to us like, hey, how can we get involved? We're hosting this debate tournament not for Umoja Debate League children, but from different organizations across the city of Detroit that deal with youth, right? So you might have an organization that deals with youth over here debating against that, right? Kind of gives them a look into our world.
Yeah.
Right. So
and maybe be the impetus for them to join the world.
Right. Absolutely. Because you never know if people like arguing. Like people like arguing. Children love to argue.
Have you seen Instagram lately?
Yeah, man. It's always arguing.
It's always an argument.
Children love to argue, and we help them do it in a structured way.
Yeah.
So hopefully, it entices some people to get more interested about what we're doing here at Umoja.
Yeah. One of the things that is always so compelling to me about whether you're teaching arts or whether you're teaching something like debate is that to be able to coach kids up to stand on a stage with a microphone in front of an audience and speak coherently.
Absolutely.
Right. And to be able to articulate themselves in the way that I've seen the Umoja Debate League kids do is no small feat. I mean, that's a big thing to be able to do, man.
Yeah.
And so what you have been able to do, I've gone to the village, I've come to the debates, seen these kids get up unabashed and unafraid to take the microphone and tell us what they're thinking and, argue their points. Yeah. It's impactful and it is inspiring, right? Yeah. What you have been able to do since 2020, since you graduated up until now is completely awe-inspiring. And it's also dope, number one, that it's a black man doing it, but it's a black man that's from the city. It's a black man who decided that, investment in place is the most rewarding and is the most needed, right?
Absolutely.
And the fact that you stand with the people, you know what the goal is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The goal isn't self-aggrandizing. Yeah. The goal isn't for you to be famous. Yeah. And for you know what I mean? Absolutely. It really is to make meaningful and lasting impact. And working with these young folks is an investment.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm excited. How can people learn more about the work?
People can learn more about the work by visiting our website, www.umojadebateteam.org. And then on our Instagram is Umoja Debate League. I know we got to change some of those league and team
things.
It's coming. Also on Instagram at umoja.village. And then my Instagram is jerjuan.howard, JERJUAN.HOWARD. Stay up to date with everything we have going on. Sign up for newsletters, the whole nine.
And for the people who may want to get involved, like, I want to be a coach. I want to do something with this guy and these young people and this team. How can they do that?
Absolutely. Just give us an email, info@umojadebateteam.org. Again, that is info@umojadebateteam.org.
All right. If you have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. All right. It's time for shout-outs. Jerjuan, you have any shout-outs?
Shout out to my team.
Yeah.
Shout out to the team. Shout out to the board. Vice President Jada Morgan, Brandon Harrison, Ariana Hemphill, Ashley Reed. All of our board members, I don't want to go on that long list of board members, but the entire board and supporters of Umoja up to this point, we thank you. And shout out to y'all.
All right. Who do I want to I want to shout out everybody who brought something to grandma's house for Thanksgiving and didn't come empty-handed, right? Because all y'all bring is y'all stomachs. So if you were one of the ones that actually brought something to grandma's house, shout out to you.
Shout out to you.
Shout out to you. And while I was away over the break, the official grand opening of Neighborhood Grocery happened with the good brother on the east side, Raphael Wright, over in the Jefferson Chalmers neighborhood, which is the neighborhood where my family settled when they came up from Comita, Mississippi, in Sharkey County down in the Delta. And that home is still in our family all of these generations later. And just a few blocks over is Neighborhood Grocery. So shout out to everything that Rafa's doing and bringing the community together. I saw something today, like he got chess nights and stuff.
Chess night, yeah. Wise Guys Chess Club. That's a good organization. Yeah. Man. Arthur Johnson's the brother who runs that. Yeah. And kind of like debate, he uses a tool for disguised learning.
That's what I'm talking about.
Black man.
Another black man.
Yeah.
All right. So we got to have like some sort of trade association, a contingency that gathers all these amazing black folks together to just commiserate. For real.
Real talk.
Without, feeding into the nonprofit industrial complex, without forcing respectability in certain language. Let's just get together and talk.
Yeah, let's kick it.
See what happens.
Let's set that up.
All right. Well, you do it.
I got you.
All right.
Actually, because that was something I've been thinking about anyways.
Yeah, you go ahead and do it, and I'll come.
All right, bet.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to Authentically Detroit. We'll see you next time.